Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Welcome to IHIP News. Some people were commenting that they wanted the old song. And so what I want to explain to our viewers is that there are two different songs. The beep 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 is for the news, which is what this is.
Okay.
And then we have the swanky kind of Sex in the City tune, which is for our podcast.
Right.
We have to talk about the news that is important to us, and I cannot impress upon you and the viewer how disturbing I find Speaker of the House, Moses Covenant Eyes, Mike Johnson.
It is so alarming when you get into his background and hear him talk. He sounds like a raving lunatic.
He is a raving lunatic, that his destination needs to be a straitjacket and a padded cell. And I'm not saying that to be cute or funny. I'm dead serious. I'm as serious about him being institutionalized in a mental facility as he is about believing that he is Moses. Okay. I made a little greatest hits because I think it's like this guy is Speaker of the House. And because the Republican Party has started slowly back in the 80s, really in the 50s, injecting so much of this Christian nationalism in, it seeped in and it seeped in. And now we have, a 5-alarm fire of Christian nationalists. And the Speaker of the House is the craziest of them all and is so close to governing the entire nation.
Correct.
So I've taken the luxury of providing a little punch list of items as to why Moses Mike is a complete nut that needs to be nowhere near any sort of government entity at all. I don't think he should be dog catcher.
Agree.
Okay. First and foremost, he supported the insurrection.
Absolutely, he did.
Then it comes out, and he says this, where he knows that there are cameras recording him and microphones, that he and his son monitor each other's porn use through a service called Covenant Eyes, which, as everybody knows, the convicted pedophile of the Duggar family is serving a prison sentence. And they also used Covenant Eyes to monitor him, but I guess it failed.
What I find so alarming about that particular aspect of Mike Johnson is that, like you said, he was in front of cameras. It was public. He lacked the self-awareness to think this might be odd. This might say a lot more about me than I want it to.
Right. But he's in this whole he lives in this whole delusions of grandeur world where these people, these Christian nationalists, believe with everything in them that they are in the middle of spiritual warfare. Their worldview is that there are angels flying around over here and demons flying around over here, and they have to all get together to help the angels kill the demons. They believe that. So to have a sense of self-awareness that maybe that's not rational, that is not rooted in fact or science or even a mid-range IQ.
Right.
So to think that he would have any sort of self-awareness, I think, is a shortcoming of ours because his worldview is so skewed. We've covered before that he has no bank account. Just got to put that on the permanent record again. Weirdo. Okay, here's where you start to understand this guy's worldview. He is a creationist, and he supported public funds for the Creation Museum in Kentucky. And here's a quote that Moses Mike said about the Creationist Museum. The Ark Encounter is one way to bring people to this recognition of the truth, that what we read in the Bible are actual historical events. So he's talking about the flood. Okay, so let's go down his rabbit hole. that if God were really mad at everybody that he loves and created, and he's giving you all these gifts of the planet and loves you and wants you to, be fruitful and multiply, and I'm doing all these great things for you. He gets mad at all of the people because my experience is that human beings can be profoundly disappointing.
Correct.
Disappointing. So we know that God could probably feel that way too, if you believe in him. So then God commits mass genocide on the planet by flooding it. Mike Johnson is using this as inspiration for people.
Inspiration for what, I wonder?
That what we read in the Bible are actual historical facts.
What's he going to put in his museum that would support that with facts?
It's the Ark Encounter event. So there is this museum in Kentucky called the Creationist Museum where they have exhibits where there's like a caveman and a dinosaur living in tandem together, which is scientifically impossible. Those two species did not live on the earth at the same time. But because these creationists are so hell-bent on, they know that the dinosaur bones are a problem in their timeline. That's why there's this concerted effort to try to link dinosaurs and man living on Earth at the same time. They've discredited carbon dating. And so now he's saying like the Ark Encounter, and he wants to use public funds for this. No real scientist believes that a 900 or 800-year-old man, however old Noah was, built a boat and got two penguins swam from Antarctica to the Middle East and hop on a boat and sailed around. Nobody sane believes that. But Moses Mike believes that. And I think it's important to connect in this Christian nationalist worldview how punitive it is. Because what is Noah's Ark story? It's hellfire damnation. You guys screwed everything up, so I'm flooding and killing and drowning all of you. Children, women, and all these other animals except for these two that I've picked. So it makes sense that Moses Mike has such a punitive worldview since he wants to use public funds to fund this story of genocide. That's what the Noah's Ark story is a story of genocide.
It's so interesting to me that he wants to use public funds on this, because I promise you the public funds for a mosque or anything other than Christianity, he would go to hell and back to try to avoid. I also somewhat have a problem with the term museum because people walk into a museum expecting artifacts and history and carbon dating. They want to know the facts.
They believe, he says here, they believe that these are facts. That's how deluded these people are. One could even make the claim that religion, when people take it literally like this, believe extraordinary things without extraordinary evidence. And this whole Christian nationalist movement, right now, it's led by Moses Mike.
Right.
It makes me insane. Okay. Moses Mike is loud and proud about his anti-LGBTQ plus work. He's worked with Exodus International to find a, quote, cure for being gay. Yes.
Oh, dear me.
He is fervently anti-choice, and I want to dive into the hypocrisy of this. He recently just botched a potential border deal, bipartisan border deal, because he's so pro-life.
Absolutely.
And he will not work with anybody because at the end of the day, the people at the border are human beings. And if you're a big Christian, then you should care about human beings. But I talked about earlier how they're able to find loopholes and how they cherry pick which humans are worthy of their support.
Right.
And the mental, moral gymnastics that people of faith go through from a very young age to justify unjustifiable cherry-picked morality is omnipresent throughout their whole lives. And Mike is just the guy who's like on steroids with this, but he claims to be so pro-child. He doesn't give a shit about kids at the border.
No.
So he also promotes student-led prayer in public school.
Of course he does. As long as it's Christian prayers.
He completely just botched the border deal. I mean, this guy is not a competent person by evidence of all of this crazy worldview thinking that he has. His governing policy is to get advice from two people, the Lord and Donald Trump, who has no power right now, who has 91 felony pending. But I want to show you, to illustrate just how insane this man is, because this is what he said in the last week or so. Seth?
The Lord told me very clearly to prepare and be ready. Be ready for what? Okay, I don't know. We're coming to a Red Sea moment. What does that mean, Lord? And then when the speaker's race happened and Kevin McCarthy, who's a dear friend of mine, was deposed, vacated from the chair, oh, wow, well, this is what the Lord may have been preparing us for. And so I started praying more about that. And then the Lord began to wake me up through this 3-week process we're in the middle of the night and to speak to me and to write things down, plans and procedures and ideas on how we could pull the conference together. Now, at the time, I assumed the Lord is going to choose a new Moses. And, thank you, the Lord. Lord, you're going to allow me to be Aaron to Moses. And the Lord kept telling me to wait. So I waited. And then at the end, when it came to the end, the Lord said, now, step forward. Me? I'm supposed to be Aaron. No, the Lord said, step forward.
Okay. This is what psychiatrists call flight of ideas. Did you hear the speech pattern?
Yes.
If you were crossing, if you were in LA on Hollywood Boulevard and you crossed the street and there was a guy with a megaphone and a Bible and he sounded like this, you're not going to stop and think, oh my God, this person is an amazing speaker. You're going to immediately know that this person is mentally ill and that it's sad. The problem here is he is the Speaker of the House who is having conversations with his imaginary friend, wherein said friend is telling him he's Moses.
Right.
First, he told him he was Aaron, and then he's like, JK, you're actually Moses.
Right.
And he's rationalized and justified this delusional thinking, and he is in charge of Congress.
And it's absolutely terrifying. As terrifying as the talking to God imaginary friend type thing, the puppet for Donald Trump is just as dangerous. I mean, both together are the duo of chaos and destruction, in my opinion.
Instead of Moses Mike working with James Lankford, who was at this government prayer thing where he said all this crazy shit.
And I'm sure he was all for it.
James Lankford is not the most rock solid bipartisan senator. He is a religious nut, but he tried to do his job and work on a really conservative border deal that the Democrats came to the table on that would actually help secure the border. And Moses Mike will have nothing to do with it because he listens to the Lord and Donald Trump. Groups like this where they have government in, let me tell you some of the things they promoted. And these are their words. They wanted to get together to, quote, cast out demons and, quote, tie the hands of Satan.
What? And
they wanted to, quote, bind demonic forces. James Lankford is really his asshole buddy because James Lankford went to this Cuckoo for Cocoa Puff display. But, you have to think about, these like maybe Western European nations or other first world countries. When you see this crap, it is bananas.
It's jarring.
But because they've slowly started seeping it into American politics year after year, decade after decade, now we're at this 5-alarm fire where everybody's like, either they go, oh, they're crazy and they just dismiss them, or you have these kind of mid-road Christians that say, yeah, that's not my version of faith. And really, they should be taking the lead on this. They should be the ones saying, absolutely, positively not. This is nobody's business. If that's what you want to believe in your own church, get it out of government. Everybody's going to hate our religion because of this. But they don't, because they're all taught you cannot criticize it. You cannot criticize any aspect of it. And I think everybody in this country should be outraged, except for the MAGAs, because you can't even reach through to them.
Right.
But people feel like they have the luxury of saying, oh, I'm so tired of politics. I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
This is Handmaid's Tale shit. I mean, Mike Johnson, Mr. Covenant Eyes, is mentally insane. And I'm not saying that to be cute or funny. You heard it right there. That is not a rational, sane person.
It's certainly not something that someone should brag about. This is where I got my ideas. This is what's driving me, because it makes everyone other than the Christian nationalists lose confidence in our country's leadership.
I think this is the part where it gets so scary. He believes it.
Right.
And the
100%.
other Christian nationalists believe it because they believe that God has called on them to fight spiritual warfare, which I'm not a religious person, but my thing would be like, if I'm God, I'm not picking that Yahoo
Right. Why would I pick him?
to be my warrior. If I'm so powerful and omniscient and all of these things, you're picking
Bottom feeder extraordinaire.
Moses Mike and Mike Pence and Donald Trump. Those are the people. Those are your warriors. Seriously?
Yeah, no one
Just
does
all the
that.
more reason not to be religious if that's who he picks.
Absolutely.
Along the long list of many reasons not to be.
Yeah, it would definitely show a lapse in judgment if that's who the picked leaders chosen by God were.
Yeah. All right. Well, anyway,
I have one more thing to add
Okay,
that
let's
you
hear it.
forgot about Mike Johnson. That's one of my all-time favorites.
let's hear it.
His daughter's purity ball
Oh, yeah, we covered that.
and their engagement photo at the purity ball. That's fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, come on.
and for those of you that are new, subscribe to our channel because we're almost to 100,000 subs.
Yes.
And we did a whole episode on Moses Mike's purity ball with his daughter and what a nut he is.
Yep.
But it's just, you see here, he's staying on script because he believes it and he is a nut. I think there are some people that know that they pander to that cause. He's not pandering.
Right.
He believes it because he needs to go to a padded cell in a straitjacket. ASAP.
Cannot argue that.
Yeah. All right. Subscribe to our channel because we want that silver plaque. We're like a few hundred away. And Pumps, tell him.
We will see you when we feel like it.
That's right.
It's so entertaining. Tap the vein. So